Let's get into it, shall we? Because suffice it to say, I know this return to the Challenge 40, you've had, appearances in All Stars and World Championships, kind of like dip your feet back in the water, but this really was a dive into the Olympic size swimming pool of the challenge. What was your reaction when you were asked to come back to the flagship for the first time in, God, must be like 15 years at least?
Oh yeah, definitely 15 years. I was honored, number one, to be asked back at all. And I was also honored to be one of the five women asked back for my era because it's a big era and we've got a lot of amazing people within our era that they could have asked. And so I felt really honored that I was one of the ones chosen for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so you even mentioned that over the course of the first couple of episodes that yes, well, it's an honor to go in. You are coming in with a lot of these pre-existing relationships, and some of these people have played more recently. What was your sense of the dynamics when you end up kind of entering the game as part of Era One?
Yeah, I was definitely on the outskirts with the girls for sure. Like I was close with all of the guys.
Hmm.
But the girls, I've never really been close with any of them, and I know they were all close with each other. So I definitely felt like I was on the outside looking in as far as that was concerned. A couple of them had expressed interest, like let's work together on this one. So I was hopeful that that would be the case. But I didn't have any like past relationship with any of them to really fall back on. So I was a little bit nervous about that aspect of it. Although in my previous challenge experience when I was young on the flagship, I was never there to make female friendships. I was usually there to like hang out, hook up, have fun. So it makes perfect sense that I didn't have like really a lot of female friendships. But that was definitely concerning for me coming in and how that was going to work.
So another, probably big shell shock of you coming in was interacting with all of these people from all these other eras of the show that came after you. So what was it like to be in the house with like the Era 3, Era 4 people who, I don't know, might have been in diapers when you were on even Road Rules Extreme?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I really thought it was a lot of fun. I'm one of those people like if someone's sitting over talking, like Horacio and Nerys would be sitting over just having like an intimate conversation, and I'd just go over and be like, "Hey guys, can I hang out with you?" Like I just like to just go and meet everybody. I'm also a night owl, so I was one of the few Era One people who was always up late with all the young ones. So I'd be
Hmm.
down by the pool, and they'd be like, "Jody's here representing Era One." I was like, "That's right," because I'm a night owl anyway. So like all my era is asleep and snoring, and I'm like, I'm not going to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna go like hang out. So I thought it was great. It was super fun. There were people there like most everybody I at least have had some awareness of. The only person I think I didn't know anything about before showing up was Brandon. Like he was the
Hmm.
only one that I'm like, I don't know who that is. But everybody else I knew who they were. So that was fun.
Well, let's fast forward to the end of your journey a bit because suffice it to say, a lot of surprises from both your perspective and our perspective with everything that happened with the stalemate to the revelation that it was going to be individual eliminations. I mean, you say in your confessional that like this was kind of your worst nightmare of circumstances. So talk me through your thoughts as all of these dominoes were falling that led to you in elimination against Avery.
Yeah. So I'm going to backtrack just a tiny bit to give you some
Please.
like some back information. So when that first elimination was happening, and we knew it was going to be Katie going in, Derek Kaczynski had come to me and said, "You should nominate yourself to go in, Jode," because she's like, "You're going to get that elimination over with. You know you're going to be able to beat Katie, and then you'll have done an elimination, and they can't come for you." And I was like, I knew that was a smart choice, but I was also in my mind having kind of a battle because I'm like, well, okay, cool. But like, what if something weird happens and Katie ends up beating me? That's like worst case scenario. Or what if they're like, hey, it's not going to be you competing against your era. You're going to compete against somebody else. And then I'm going against like Cara Maria or something. Like that would be terrible. Or Naya again or something. It would be terrible. So I was like, okay, I don't know. That's risky, you know? And I also didn't know how the game was going to progress, that we're going to do this whole like leader thing. And I just thought, well, I'll just get it. I'll earn the respect of my female, teammates. And I want to like, if they say they want to work with me, prove it to me.
Hmm.
And so then I felt like I needed that reassurance to like move forward and feel confident in our dynamic. And then, I had no idea. I just thought, we'll go into the second challenge and I'll prove myself and they're not going to want to throw me in because I'll do well. And it'll be like game on. But then, yeah, when the whole leadership thing came into play, I was like, oh, great. This is how this game's going to progress. Awesome. And sorry, I lost my own train of
No,
thought
well, it's
internally
interesting though
here.
because you bring it up and like I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened in the beginning of All Stars 2 as well, which was like your return to the challenge was, oh, if you step up as a captain, there's a chance you might go in. Did you have that in your mind at all when you and Darrell step up?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not, this is not, I mean, I've done the least amount of challenges in my era, but I am very familiar with the way this works. I knew 100% you're a leader, you lose, you go in. Like that is how it's
Mm.
always worked. But it's interesting the way that they chose to edit it because I did not nominate myself. It seems like I nominated myself. I 100% did not. So
Was that another Derek thing of like, Jode, you got to put yourself up there. They'll believe in you.
no, no, definitely he would not have recommended that ever. No, he is not the one that did it. I made a rookie mistake, and when we were standing up there waiting for TJ to talk to us, you know, because they have us walk out a couple different times and get lined up, and then they're like, you know, until it's final. So when we walked out, we could see right away there's a boat, there's the gross stuff to eat, and then there's like all the challenge seasons. And so I opened my big fat mouth and said that I had memorized all the seasons because I watched Dirty 30 before coming on. And so I knew we're probably gonna have to know them. So I made flashcards. I'd been studying them for weeks. I had them all memorized. And as soon as I said that, and then TJ said, we need leaders, Rachel's like, oh, Jody, you should be the leader because you are the one who knows all the seasons in case that has something to do with it, which no, why don't we pick somebody who's not prepared to be the leader? You know what I mean? Like, because I memorized them, now I have to go in. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But I didn't feel like I had any leg to stand on because Rachel had made it clear that she had really kind of saved me that first elimination
Mm.
and put, you know, her and CT had put Anissa in. And Nisa had just been in. Rachel's not going to nominate herself. And then Tina's like her right hand man. And so, like, I was in a bad spot. So it was kind of like, okay, I guess it's gonna have to be me. But I was like,
Interesting.
had I not said that, had I not given my cards away and been like, I already know that, like, then it may have been more of a discussion. So
Mm.
I put my foot in my mouth for sure.
Yeah, so fast forwarding to the elimination, because you had recommended, please put Derek and Aviv in against us. So did you expect this whole standoff turned elimination gambit ended up happening, and what was your reaction to that?
Yeah, so I definitely knew it might happen because we had like a pool party the night before the elimination. And Derek Chavez was talking to me and he said, you know, Avery's never going to say my name. She's going to go in for me instead of saying my name. And I was like, okay. I mean, like at that point, I felt like it's out of my hands. Like we simply said what we wanted, and like it's up to them to figure that out. And I'm also like, I don't know. I was like, okay, like if you're gonna let Avery do that, I don't know. It was out of my hands, so I knew that it was a possibility. I was hopeful that it wasn't, but I was just kind of like, whatever happens, happens. At this point, I'm already going in. You know.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, we do hear you express it. And this is something that's kind of been a little bit of a recurring thing, at least in your past couple of challenge seasons, which is like this panic that set in for you. Can you describe like when it happened and how it happened with this particular elimination?
Yeah, so I don't know if they. I definitely talked about it in exit interviews, and I don't know if they put it on the episode or not. But I have ever since I was a young child, like elementary school, I've always struggled with test anxiety, like very severe test anxiety, to the point where like it's debilitating. So I actually was tested for learning disabilities when I was in middle school.
Wow.
Because my mom and dad were just like, it's such a serious problem in school for me that it's like there must be something additional going on. And so through that testing, they just determined, no, you just have very severe test anxiety. And so when I was in college, I actually, because of that learning disability testing that I'd had, and I had paperwork documenting that I'd had that testing done, I was able to get all of my tests in college I did in a testing center. I didn't
Mm.
actually do them in class. So I would be in a testing center, unlimited time by myself. And so there was none of that anxiety. And I actually did better in school than I've ever done because I had that ability to just not have that anxiety. And so I definitely feel like for me, daily challenges don't give me that anxiety because it's not final, right? It's like, okay, I have an opportunity to prove myself and just don't come in last. You know what I mean? But for eliminations, I do get that anxiety because it's so final. You lose, you go home. You know what I mean? And so especially with something that feels very much like a test,
Mhm.
like this one did. Like it's more like not just a physical thing, there's like a mental
Right.
component as well. I definitely, I don't know if it's clear to fans, but I definitely was having like an anxiety, like almost felt like an anxiety attack while I was in there. Like it was very hard to regroup and come back to like figuring out a different way,
Mhm.
because I had figured out a way to lay the tiles out that worked. I mean, in accordance with the riddle. But the problem was I didn't have the colors
Right.
to complete it. So then I had to start over. And I think that's where I just mentally kind of started shutting down, was like I just couldn't regroup and like really what I needed to do. And this is embarrassing, but like this is the best way for me to get my anxiety under control, is like I needed to be able to close my eyes, plug my ears, and talk to myself. Like, hey, calm down, you're okay. Take a couple deep breaths, it's all right. And I just didn't do that. I was too busy like being in my head and trying to like rely on my team for help when I couldn't even hear them. So I just think, yeah, I think I can do a better job maybe of like figuring out how to get that anxiety under control for myself. But it's something that I've struggled with since like elementary school.
I mean, you were very clearly emotional in the like post elimination confessional that we get from you. Was it because of that? Was there some other stuff compounded in your reaction from getting eliminated?
No, I just think it was a culmination of I was in shock. I had trained for 6 months to be there.
Mm.
I had done everything within my power to best prepare to be there. And I felt like I was physically and mentally super ready. And I really, when we got there and we got in the house, I mean, this isn't me like tooting my own horn. I was like, I have a strong chance of getting to the final. Like, I was
Mm.
really like excited and like hopeful that that was going to be my journey. And so I think it was, I was in shock. I was embarrassed. I was like just feeling a range of emotions. And I am a crier. I wear my emotions out on my sleeve. Like I've never been one to like hide back what I'm feeling. Just ask my husband. um, but I just, that's always been me. I've never been somebody who's been like stoic. I've just like, when I feel sad, like you know. So, you know, I think people could call me a crybaby, but I just feel like, I feel like there's strength in your ability to show emotion. So I don't
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah. Well, last thing I want to ask is talking about, airing things out in the open. From your time on season 40, what's one thing that you wish we got to see from your time in the game, be it like strategically, personally, comedically?
Well, I actually, if I'm being totally fair with you, Mike, I haven't watched any of the episodes. I mean,
Okay.
my husband was very, he was like, "You're really not going to watch." And I said, "No, he didn't watch either because he wouldn't have watched unless I watched." But I just said, "No, I was there. I lived it. I just don't want to relive it." You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I've like done the best I can to process what happened, and I'm still lose sleep about it, which is embarrassing. But I just, it was a really hard loss for me. And so I don't need to see it again. But one funny thing did happen, and I'm sure they didn't air it, but maybe they will during the reunion. Who knows? But Tori taught me how to twerk.
What?
And yeah, and I'm sure I was really bad at it, but Darrell was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. Like it was so funny. Cause yeah. So that was one of the nights down by the pool. Like she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to twerk. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm sure she was a great coach, but I'm sure I did not do a great job. But we'll never know unless
I
they
don't know.
show it. So
Listen, if you come back for another season and it's a twerking elimination, I would edge you out as like a favorite in that.
I mean, you never know. Maybe some of those skills she taught me will come back and play.
Well, thank you for coming on and talking to me. As I said before, I've been a big fan of you since your early days on reality TV, and getting to see you come back, even if it wasn't for the longest time, it was still a good time. And I'm so sorry that like you're still trying to emotionally reconcile everything that's happening. But thank you, Jody, for being so open about everything with me today. I know I speak on behalf of a lot of fans, but I say we really do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate just being able to be on the podcast. I always say these are so therapeutic for me because I get to like talk through it, and I always feel lighter and better when I come out of interviews. So I appreciate your time as well.
Oh, of course. Well, the pleasure was all mine. I wish you and your family nothing but the best. And thank you so much again, Jody. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye bye.